The 7 levels of hardest FromSoftware bosses. Level 1, Knight Artorias, Dark Souls. Once the leader of Lord Gwyn's 4 elite knights, Artorias ventured into the ancient city of Ulatile to halt the spread of the Abyss. However, the legend you hear in the base game is a lie. He didn't save Ulatile. He was consumed by the very darkness he fought. When you finally meet him, his great shield is gone, his sword arm is shattered, and his mind is reduced to a feral instinct to destroy. Despite his broken state, Artorias serves as the definitive skill check of the original Dark Souls. He is aggressive, relentless, and possesses a gap-closing leap that can reach you from across the arena. The real difficulty spike comes from his buff mechanic. If you give him space to breathe, he gathers abyssal energy to charge a massive explosion, increasing his damage output significantly. This forces the player to abandon passivity and rush in to interrupt him, creating a high-risk, high-reward dynamic. He forces you to stop playing like a turtle and start dancing with death. He is the grandfather of the modern dual boss fight. Level 2, the Nameless King, Dark Souls 3. We travel to the secret Archdragon Peak to face a forgotten god. The Nameless King is Gwyn's firstborn son, a deity of war who sacrificed his name and status to ally with the ancient dragons. He stands now as a king without a kingdom, a betrayer to the gods but a savior to the dragons. This fight is a grueling 2-part test of endurance and patience. The first phase, King of the Storm, is often criticized for being a battle against the camera rather than the dragon, forcing players to unlock their aim to survive the fire breath from above. But once the Drake falls and the king absorbs its soul, the true nightmare begins. The Nameless King is difficult because he is designed to punish panic rolling. Most Dark Souls 3 bosses encourage fast, reaction-based dodging. The Nameless King, however, delays his attacks unnaturally. He winds up his spear, waits for you to flinch, and then swings, catching you right at the end of your dodge animation. Combined with his high damage output and wind attacks that traverse the entire arena, he requires a complete mental reset. You cannot react. You must memorize the rhythm. Level 3, Orphan of Kos, Bloodborne. At level 3, we enter the Hunter's Nightmare in Bloodborne. The Orphan of Kos is a great one, born from the corpse of its mother on the shores of the fishing hamlet. It is a creature of pure, concentrated sadness and rage, physically embodying the sins of the old hunters who defiled the village and dissected its inhabitants. While the Nameless King is about delayed rhythm, the Orphan of Kos is about chaos. He doesn't fight like a warrior. He fights like a frightened, rabid animal. He screams constantly, flailing his placenta weapon with unpredictable, erratic movements that can clip you from deceptive angles. In his second phase, the fight turns into a horror movie. The Orphan grows wings, leaping high into the air to rain down explosive sacraments, and summons waves of lightning from the corpse of Kos in the ocean. The windows to heal are almost non-existent. He is faster than the player, hits harder than the beasts, and demands a level of aggression that feels unsafe. To beat him, you have to meet his rage with your own, parrying his frenzied strikes while risking instant death. Level 4, Sister Frieda, Dark Souls 3, Ashes of Ariandel. Level 4 is an endurance test unlike any other. Sister Frieda is an unkindled, just like the player, but she has abandoned her duty. She chose to let the painted world of Ariandel rot in stagnation, rather than letting it burn and be reborn. She protects this rotting world with a cold, calculated elegance. Frieda is effectively a bloodborne hunter trapped in a Dark Souls game. She dashes away invisibly, moves faster than your camera can track, and uses frostbite to sap your stamina. But the real difficulty lies in the format. It is the series' first mandatory 3-phase boss fight. Phase 1 is a stealth check. Phase 2 is a chaotic 2 versus 1 brawl, where you must manage Father Ariandel's massive bowl of fire while avoiding Frida's ice. By the time you finish this, you are likely out of healing flasks. Then, the Black Flame ignites. Phase 3, Black Flame Frida introduces dark magic and brutal area of effect attacks. She gives you no room to breathe, and dying here means redoing the entire 10-minute marathon from the start. Level 5, Ishin, the Sword Saint, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Level 5 brings us to the Silvergrass Fields of Ashina. Here, we face Ishin, not as the sickly old man we met earlier, but resurrected in his absolute prime by the mortal blade. He is the Sword Saint, a man who spent his entire life perfecting the art of killing, incorporating every style of war into his technique. Ishin is the final exam of Sekiro. You cannot level up to beat him. You cannot summon help. You must simply be better. The fight consists of 4 grueling phases if you count Genichiro at the start. Ishin uses a katana with precise, rhythmic strikes in Phase 1. In Phase 2, he pulls a massive spear from the ground and, shockingly, a semi-automatic pistol. Mixing feudal swordplay with gunpowder, he demands perfection in every mechanic the game has taught you. Mikiri counters for thrusts, jumping head stomps for sweeps, and lightning reversals for his final phase. A single moment of hesitation breaks your posture and ends your run. It is a beautiful, lethal dance where you must clash swords perfectly for minutes on end. Level 6, Malenia, Blade of Miquella, Elden Ring. For a long time, this was the peak. An Empyrean cursed from birth with the Scarlet Rot, she waged war against General Radon and never known defeat. She waits at the roots of the Halig Tree, a hidden superboss that breaks the rules of Elden Ring. Malenia is infamous for 2 specific mechanics. First is her life steal. Every time she hits you, even if you block with a shield, she heals a portion of her health. This demoralizes players, as a single mistake doesn't just hurt you, it undoes your progress. It forces you to play perfectly, as trading hits is a losing strategy. Second is the waterfowl dance, arguably the hardest single move to dodge in gaming history. She rises into the air and unleashes a flurry of anime-style slashes that track the player relentlessly. Surviving this requires frame-perfect positioning or specific tools like frozen pots. Combined with her second phase, where she blooms into the goddess of rot and inflicts damage over time simply by being near you, she stood as the undisputed queen of difficulty until the DLC. Level 7, Promised Consort Radahn. And finally, we arrive at the new god of difficulty. This is not the rotted, mindless beast we fought in Caelid. This is Radahn at his peak, resurrected in the body of Mog, forcing his soul into a vessel of pure strength, with the god Miquella riding on his back to ascend to godhood. If Malenia was a dance, Radahn is a natural disaster. Phase 1 is a brutal display of gravity magic and dual greatsword aggression that leaves almost no openings to heal. But Phase 2 is where he surpasses everything that came before. Miquella enchants Radahn's attacks with Miquella's light. Now, every single sword swing is followed by a delayed pillar of holy light. This creates a visual clutter that makes it nearly impossible to see what is happening. You have to dodge the sword and then immediately dodge the light, while Radahn is already starting his next combo. He has a cross-slash attack that is chemically impossible for the average human reaction time to roll through perfectly. He is a boss that forces players to change their entire build, often resorting to great shields and pokes just to survive. He is relentless, blinding, and overwhelmingly powerful, cementing himself as the hardest challenge in FromSoftware history.